All right. Welcome in, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest, to another edition of College Hockey Southwest Weekly, the podcast, the YouTube. You can see us almost anywhere that you can find your podcast. You can hear us. You can go to YouTube and see us. And Paul Hornstein live on Long Island in New York City. I'm live in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Paul, boy, do we have some Sun Devil hockey to talk about tonight.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Plenty of hockey to talk about in the beginning of August, uh, and things went about as well as you could have expected them to for a tournament that took place in the end of July and beginning of August. And it's fun to have some actual games to talk about. I mean, there are
Right.
other things that we have to touch on here tonight, but it's fun to have some actual games to talk about and some performances that I have to be honest with you. Some of them were expected, some of them were unexpected. When you go 4-0-1 in 5 games, there's really not a lot to criticize.
Okay, let me stop you right there because
Okay.
that's 4-0-1 against professional competition
Yeah,
with a NCAA hockey team that added 9 new players to the roster. Some, of course, didn't play. The guys that are going to be redshirted did not play, and Carson Briere, namely. But
right.
as
Couple
we
guys
looked,
were injured.
yep, a couple guys were injured. But as we looked at that roster, as they came together and practiced for a week before they left for China, we said, boy, there's a lot of talent here, but we just hope they don't embarrass themselves. I believe was the comment that we threw out there.
Yeah.
Um, I thought they looked pretty good in practice. To be honest with you, I was shocked at just how much they came together. But you could see, and I'm going to start off with this, and I know you're going to get into it shortly too, but this tournament was won by one number 7, Johnny Walker. He took this team and threw it right on his back from start to finish and made sure that they won this tournament. Your thoughts?
Well, listen. Scored was it 7 goals in the 5 games? I
7
think it
goals
was
in
7
5
goals in the
games,
5 games.
including the hat trick in the championship game, a natural
A
hat trick.
natural hat trick in the championship game. He definitely carried the load offensively in terms of putting the puck in the net, but that's who he is. That's his game. That's his role on this team. There's a couple of things we'll get into that I noticed as I got to watch 2 of the games. I know that there was streaming for at least the first game and the game that eventually was the championship game. So I got to see those 2 games, and the stuff in the middle we're just kind of piecing together from our hockey experience and so forth and so on, and just kind of, I don't want to say guessing, because I don't think we're guessing when we form these opinions, but I would say they're educated guesses just based on what we know about the team and what we got to see.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, just the logistics of from USA to China is baffling in that they were able to get the information out that they did. And the feeds that we got or that you were able to see, I didn't have a chance to see them other than in clips, but they were coming from the professional team's sites, correct?
Well, I assume so, but I know this. The first game that they won against Red Star, which they won 5-3, I didn't get to see it live.
Right.
And somehow, miraculously, even though it said ASU on the scoreboard, the only ASU goal I got to see was Jacob Wilson's goal at the end of the second period. I don't know how that happened.
I think I know, but okay. So let's throw it out right off the get-go. Congratulations to Coach Powers and Coach Field, and of course,
Don't forget Coach Hicks.
Coach Hicks, and everybody there. I also want to throw it up to Johnny Loeffner because I can't even imagine what he had to go through, getting all that equipment there and being able to get those guys equipped and ready to go. He's got to get it all back now, get it organized again. So, Johnny Loeffner, hats off to you, man. What a job that you and your staff have to do. And of course, Mitch Terrell, what can we say about Mitch? He's got to put this whole thing together from the media end of it. I'm sure it had to be, communications nightmare and everything else that you can imagine going through. But what a deal. What an event. I saw them, we've seen on social media. They've been to the Great Wall today. They've been all over. They've been to Tiananmen Square. They've been to a kung fu show. They've done everything. But what we're here to talk about is the ice right now, right? What they did on the ice. And Coach Powers in the opening game had Gruber, Walker, and Bush. That lasted one game. After that, we put Mr. Sanchez, James Sanchez, the junior coming in, the junior transfer coming in the middle. He's a big boy. He's very good on faceoffs. He's very good at moving the puck, as was demonstrated. And the benefactor of that was Demetrius Kumanzis and Johnny Walker, which was Johnny's output was incredible.
Well, listen, in the highlights that you got to see, and in the actual game that I got to see live, as you got to see some of the replays of the goals and things, because Adidas, I love what you do, but please, no more maroon numbers on black jerseys, because if you're watching it on a laptop, you can't see the numbers. The rest of it looked great, but please, for those of us that rely on a laptop to watch these games,
which is a lot of people. And listen, when they did it last year and they came out for the Desert Classic, they were black with yellow numbers. Good job. I'm just saying, please, no more black with maroon numerals, please. So, all right. So I'll
but anyway, okay. So, Johnny Walker, they switched it up, and I don't think it was in the third game, because I don't think Demetrius played in the second game. Demetrius did not play in the second game, and Josh Maniscalco did not play in the second game. As the coach said, he was going to rotate, and everybody was going to get to play. So everybody that was available got to play, even if it was just one game. And when they put that line together and starting in game 3, it went crazy. And Demetrius was making passes to Johnny Walker like they've been playing together for a long time.
Wow.
And I would be stunned. And I asked the coach this in an email, and they're in China, so they can't necessarily. I don't expect him to get back to me. Hopefully, I'm sure he will next week when they get back. But they were making passes to spots, and the other guy was there. And I can't imagine that they won't start the season as 2/3 of a line, and probably with Sanchez there and as the third guy in that line. And Johnny scored 7 goals, and that was in 5 games. And he had the natural hat trick in the championship game on 3 different types of goals, by the way.
Right.
They weren't. One was basically a slap shot from the blue line. The other was on a pass where he threaded a needle, and the other was he was in the slot and put it home. And when you're a goal scorer, you're a goal scorer. And, so that bodes well. Logan Genuine got himself a couple in the tournament. And that bodes well too. And on the goals that I saw the highlights of, or in the game that he scored, they were goal scorers' goals. They weren't
absolutely.
They weren't just like, oh, here I'm going to pick up the loose change on the floor and just throw it into an empty net. They were goal scorers' goal. And one of the 2 goals that he scored, he was being hacked.
Yeah.
Okay. He was the defenseman in whatever game it was. I think it was. It might have been in that championship game. The defenseman had his stick at Genuine's hands, and during the regular season and during the regular season, that's going to get called a penalty. And
absolutely.
And in the NCAA, they get the goal and the penalty.
Yeah.
So those were goal scorers' goals, and that's a good thing to see. Some of the other goal scoring got spread out a little bit. I think Brinson Pasnick is the only defenseman that scored a goal. We don't have box scores, but I would assume some defensemen got a few assists. But we'll talk about the defense in a couple of minutes, because there was some good things to talk about there as well. So plenty of offense for ASU in this tournament. They outshot their opponents for the 5 games by a 2-1 margin, even a little bit more than that.
Okay, so let me tell you. What did I tell you at the start of our shows back in July after I saw them on the ice? I said, what's going to happen with this team? They're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to be pretty good defensively. But what we're not sure of is the goaltenders, right? I think the goaltenders acquitted themselves pretty well. I think the goal scoring proved themselves pretty well. And the third observation that I took away with it is their depth is real, right? And this is what I've been saying for a month now, is that Coach Powers told me in our conversation that we broke into 3 segments, he told me that this is the first year that he was able to go out and acquire or recruit depth, right?
Right.
He knows that to win a national championship, you need depth because of injuries, and you need depth of players that can, he wants his lines to win every line battle, right? He wants the number 1s to beat the 1s. He wants the 2s to beat the 2s, 3s to beat the 3s, and the line 4 to beat line 4. That's the way he looks at it, right? So when you look at what he's put together, I think when you come into those tough games, maybe at Minnesota State, Mankato, line 1 and 2 are going to, maybe they draw, right? But where the win comes, in my estimation, is in lines 3 and 4. Because if your 3 and 4s are better than the other team's 3 and 4s, you have a chance. Because then 1 and 2 holds their own, 3 and 4 knocks the game off.
Well, I'll respond to that this way. We don't know what the level of those 5 games were. That we know that those guys are professionals. We don't know what the equivalent level is, and I'm not knocking the 5 games. You still beat professionals. You still beat guys that are older and more experienced, and we're getting away with a lot of clutching and grabbing, stuff that you're not going to see during the regular season. As a matter of fact, as we're watching that first game where we got everything but the ASU goals, at one point you hear the coach yelling, and I assume he was talking to the officials, "That's really bad. That's really bad." And it was right after a penalty got called on ASU. So I can only assume that that's what he was talking about. So, so you had that as well. But the one thing I saw from ASU in the 2 games that I got to see was their defense was extremely, extremely solid.
Yes.
Okay. Don't know how that's going to translate once the season starts, but for what I saw a defense that almost minimalized the amount of shots that the goalie was screened on. There were not a lot of screen shots.
Can I jump in on that one? I know how it's going to translate. It's going to get better. Here's why it's going to get better. Max Ballanson did not play. Connor Stewart played sparingly. Gavito Janssen's played on and off. What's going to happen, in my estimation, is as this group continues to gel together, when you got a core that's based with Brinson and Josh Maniscalco, and you got Jacob Wilson, you got guys that are steady defensemen, and Gorley. I mean, the competition in practice is going to become so fierce to get in the lineup that when they get into a game, it's going to be second nature. To answer your question, they're going to get better as the season goes on.
Well, listen, we certainly hope so. The thing I noticed, and one of the questions that I posed that hopefully we'll get some answers to, is Jared Gorley in the 2 games that I got to see. He was a typical freshman last year. He'd play great for 5 minutes, and then he would do something that freshmen do. He had the upset. Really, honestly, Josh Maniscalco was probably the only true freshman on the team last year that didn't have a lot of ups and downs.
Right.
So most of the guys playing in their first year had some ups and downs. It's what happens with freshmen. Any coach in any sport will tell you that. They have to get used to the consistency that you need to have at that level. So if that continues to be the case, Gorley is the one true physical guy that they have on the blue line. And I know the game is different now. It's not, you're not trying to push Phil Esposito out of the front of the crease, but right. You still need to have a physical presence, at least in part, on your defense. You didn't see those mistakes. You didn't see Judson or Semick, who played most of the tournament together, make those kinds of mistakes. Most of the shots came from the outside. The shots that didn't were shots where the goalie had a clean look at them. And if that continues at any sort of reasonable rate, you're going to see a team that, despite losing its best player from last year's team, and that happens, that's the college game, most goalies at that level are going to stop a shot that they see.
Yeah. That was just going to be my point, was the goaltenders were the big benefactors, I believe, from the solid defensive play, because they didn't have to make big saves all the time, because their defensemen were doing a good job. Like you said, shots coming from the outside, not a lot of second chances, not a lot of rebound garbage to worry about. So we'll go back to what I said in the beginning in July, right? It's so strange to be saying in the beginning of July, because now we got another month and a half until I can get on the ice for real.
I know.
But anyway, as I was saying, it's depth that's helped them. It's better defensive core throughout the whole defensive core that's going to make it a lot easier for the goaltenders. I'm sure Joey Decord is sitting back in Massachusetts right now going like, wow, if I would have had these guys, how many shutouts could I have had? Not to say that there were that
he had a lot. Like that, he had a lot as it was.
Yeah, I know, but he stood on his head a few times, if you remember last year, where he had to make some big saves because of freshman errors and things like that. And now this depth is completely different. So, kudos to the offense, kudos to the defense, and the goaltenders for guys getting their first real shot. Prodzic, we know, is a grad transfer, right. And we know that he played behind Ottinger, who's going to be a star in the NHL. So, is he new? He's new, but he's not really new. You know what right. I mean? But Justin Robbins now, he's true, right? He's a true freshman coming in here, coming out of juniors, and he seemed to hold his own as well.
Well, I think he was in the goal for the one bad period I think ASU had over there in China.
Right.
The third period of that second game that they lost in overtime. Okay. I think they had a 4-1 lead in that game and end up losing that game in overtime. And having not seen it, I'm sure it was some combination of I don't want to say jitters, but freshman mistakes.
Right.
Maybe the goalie lost his concentration. I don't know. Maybe there were some breakdowns in the defensive zone in that particular period. So I don't know. So I don't want to completely speculate on that. I do know in the 2 games that I got to see, I saw a goalie in Max Prodzic who was under control, playing his angles well, was not jumpy.
Right.
And I know there's another word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now off the top of my head. He was not playing out of control. He seemed like he was in control the whole time, even on the few chances where they were legitimate goal-scoring chances by the Red Star team in those 2 games. He was playing his angles well. He had his body in the right position, and he didn't seem to show any panic. So
let me tell you my opinion on that. He played in a Boston University system. Every game, every practice was a big deal for him there. So I think he got to experience that. I don't think nerves, I don't think anxiety, I don't think anything of that existed. To him, this was just the opportunity to go play hockey and be the number 1 guy for a little bit.
Hey, listen, you know, I think he's got the leg up at this point. You know, who knows how that's going to work out. Usually, as I say, when it comes to the goalies, I trust the coach's judgment because most teams don't have a goalie as a coach.
Right.
So, you know, it's a different language than the rest of the ice and a different mindset and a different everything. And that's why, you know, as you've seen over the years and I see, the goalies tend to not really get focused on too much. They kind of do their own thing because,
right. Yep.
You know, so we're going to see about that. I think that the goaltending should be okay, and if it's okay to better than okay, well,
go ahead.
You might
go
be
ahead,
right.
Say it.
No, I don't want to say.
See.
I
we'll
can't
see in
say
Detroit,
you're
Paul.
going to be right. I can't say.
All right, couple of things. I've already started it. I don't care what anybody says. When you score 7 goals in 5 games,
no.
Johnny Walker for Hobie 2020, the campaign has started now. It started now. These people need to get the word out that the rest of the NCAA hockey needs to pay attention to it. And you start early. You start to focus. He can handle the pressure. He's improved over last year. His skating's gotten better. His shooting's gotten better. And his strength has gotten better. So those 3 things are the keys to success.
I don't think, A, Johnny Walker's going to sneak up on anybody this year.
No.
But, B, you know, you're saying that to get the name out. I think people know who he is now, especially in the college hockey world. And I think you're going to see that.
Well, his name needs to be on the board right away. He needs to be the first guy on there because he led the country in points per game last year. He scored 20-some goals. I got him pegged for 30 this year. I think he's going to score 30 goals. You can't score 7 in 5 games and not score 30 in 35 college games. So I know you and his dad both put earmuffs on when I say that, but come talk to me in April and we'll see where we're at.
Be more than happy to tell you were
right. Yeah. Okay. And we're also going to talk about the magic number. We're going to start right off the get-go this year because this team is really, really good. And 24 wins is what they got to get to this year to secure a spot because the strength of schedule is not as tough as it was last year.
They have to get to 1 on October 5th. Okay? And then on October 6th, it has to be 1 again. Let's listen, it's your job to do that. It's my job to think like the coach, 1 at a time. One at a time.
I'll be the media guy. We'll go with that. Okay, so enough about the Sun Devils. We go on and on and on. We talked about what they did. We got a lot of things to wrap up here in a few minutes. So tell us some of your other news and notes that you plucked out of the internet.
Well, this came down today, and I couldn't figure out why it hadn't happened before that. But Anthony Croston signed with the Adirondack Thunder.
Yeah.
In the New Jersey Devils organization. So good for Anthony. I'm glad to see him get a shot. It's I was glad to see it. I was kind of surprised that it didn't happen sooner, but it is what it is.
Well, in all fairness, Crow came off of surgery at the end of the year for his ankle, so
that's
true.
He's
a little bit of rehab. I'm sure he had to prove himself again, but yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, Crow. Go get him out there and keep moving up the ladder. What else you got?
The captain of Harvard, John Marino, who ASU will be playing this year in California.
Yes.
Okay. They're going to have to start replacing him because their defense, their captain defenseman, just got signed today by the Pittsburgh Penguins. So
big news.
That's a big loss for Harvard. They're still going to be good. They're still going to be good. Let's not go crazy here. Like all of a sudden they're going to be a winless team. But that and this late too.
Right. This late in the year is really that's the key.
So now Ted Donato's got to kind of go scrambling a little bit, and and we'll see what happens.
He will. I'm sure he's got a pretty good pipeline of players.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine. How
about my friends over in Vegas? I'm going up there next week. What do they got going
on? The tournament that ASU won its first trophy in,
the Ice Vegas Invitational.
The Ice Vegas Invitational is no longer the Ice Vegas Invitational, but I guess the Fortress Invitational. And okay, they call it whatever they want, right? As long as they keep having it.
What 4 teams are coming in?
You got Ohio State, Army, Providence, and Cornell. So
that's a good group.
You're going to have a good group there. They're going to have a lot of people traveling to that Christmas time in Vegas.
Yeah. New Year's in Vegas.
Oh, whatever the day, whatever.
Yeah, I believe it's the 3rd and 4th of January.
It could be, so that'll be an interesting tournament. And your buddy Craig Cameron put out some news this week.
Craig Cameron, yeah.
Yeah. Did I say Greg or Craig? Whatever.
Greg, yeah.
Greg, yeah.
What did Greg say?
Well, according to him, they did finish the RFP, so we're going to see.
What does that mean, Paul? What's coming next?
Request for proposal.
What's coming next?
I don't know. I don't know what's coming next because I don't see any shovels and I don't see anything. But
I'll tell you what's coming next.
When I see shovels,
the next month is September, and in September there's going to be shovels.
We can't do this and not say it, even if. And my skepticism is not skepticism towards the university. My skepticism is not, saying that they don't want to get this done. It's just, how long has the Valley of the Sun been dealing with hockey arena issues?
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the end of my conversation with Jeremy Roenick in the special interview that I did with him last weekend, but I asked him specifically about Sun Devil hockey. He told me a lot of good things in a very short period of time, but he ended it with the one thing they must do is get a building. They need a building more than the Coyotes, and their program right now cannot continue to play at Oceanside and excel. They know it. They know it, but
he also said, and he must have been listening to me for the last few years, when they finally do get a building, it will explode.
Yeah.
It will explode. To me, there's no question about it. And we've said it on this show before. The coach doesn't like to say, well, if you're just coming for the weather, don't come here.
Yeah, right.
But everybody says that the first thing they say whenever you talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
You said,
who
you
wouldn't?
spoke to Jeremy Roenick, it was the first thing he said. When they announced the team going Division I, Bo Bennett, who was playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins at the time, is like, who wouldn't want to go there? They got the weather, they got this. So they can say whatever they want. And Coach, I love you. But it's still the first thing everybody says. It's still the first thing everybody says. Oh, and by the way, as long as we're talking about it, the coach with a lot of balls in the air, because when he's over in China, was the first day you can contact recruits on August 1st. So he's got I'm calling you from China, so it might be a little time difference deal going on here. So,
all right. So we wrapped up Sun Devil hockey for the summer. Who thought we'd be saying that, right? We wrapped up Sun Devil hockey for the summer. Okay, so we got 6 weeks, roughly 7 weeks until we get started. September 1st with the guys getting on the ice. There will be captain's practices, though.
Is it September 1st? Is that the day? That's the day they can go back on the ice with the coaches?
Yep.
Okay.
So what's going to end up happening is
you have less than 6 and 7 weeks, Scott. You got 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Yeah. They're going to be doing some captain's practices as they always do. I understand they're going to get 2 weeks off to kind of get ready for school and get their legs back under them, and then they're going to get back on the ice with their captain's practices. So I'll be down there to see a little bit of what's going on down there, and we'll hope to get Coach and maybe a player or two on the show down the road and see if we can't get some comments at least to play out there. So I know it's late. We're recording this late. I know you'd stay up all night for it, but
but
we got to save something for the next 3 weeks, because if we don't, we'll have nothing to talk about, and that would be a shame.
That would be. Of course, we always manage to find. You're always telling me, "Oh, we can only do it for X number of minutes," and 45 minutes later, an hour later, we're still going. Even if we're rambling on, we're still going. So you could say that, but we always manage to find something.
I hear you. Well, let's wrap things up for the night. We'll get ready for next week, and we'll see what that brings. I'm going to spend the most of the week up in Vegas next week, so we'll see what's happening up there. I'll try to dig in a little bit into the Fortress Invitational, find out what's going on with that group, and see if the national champion Sun Devils will get to go back there next year. I roll.
Can we beat Mercyhurst first, please? Try to say that.
Okay. We'll go with that.
Thanks.
Paul Hornstein, thanks again for all the insight. Congratulations again to the Fu Xing Cup champions. Am I close?
You might be. I'd have to sit there and look at it while I'm pronouncing it, but
yeah, you got to be careful when you pronounce that one. But the FU Cup is coming right back here to Tempe.
Yeah, okay, that works better.
All right, Paul. Have a good evening. See you next week. We'll start talking some more Sun Devil hockey next week.
You got it.
Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State athletics. College Bar and Grill. Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion. Online at ilovecollege.co.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.